Now from someplace he'd rather not disclose.
How are you not freaking out right now?
Using the best 1987 technology.
I did not know that.
And still pretending he's a teen idol.
Are you serious?
Online and on the air.
Specially designed for your listening pleasure.
It's the Norm Jones Show.
You're gonna love it, I promise.
Because nobody would ever pretend to be him.
All right, ladies, buckle up.
Now, here's Norm Jones.
Such a large intro for such a little show. Good morning, everybody. This is the Norm Jones Show, and I am Norm Jones.
And I'm Kathy Jones.
There we go. We are going to check the forecast for you this morning. We are looking at some clear skies right now. I didn't know that. 25 right now outside, and that's pretty chilly. We're going to have a high today of 34, and they say it's going to cloud up. No chance of precipitation. But I'm hearing for the weather. Oh, by the way, no school closings here. I'm hearing from the weather at upnorthlive.com that it's going to be dicey tomorrow, Friday. And that's a travel day for you. It talks about precipitation through tomorrow morning, and low pressure pushes through the region. Snow for the eastern UP, tip of the mitt, wintry mix for the interior and higher terrain of the northern lower. So once you get downstate, I think you're going to be okay. Here's the forecast calling for, again, 34 in clouds today, and tomorrow 38. Some rain in the morning. Could be a wintry mix, right? 40 on Saturday, partly sunny. It's going to be windy, which, when it's not that warm outside, it's that really brings the wind chill down, takes the fun out of the day. It takes the fun out. High of 40, partly cloudy. And on Monday, look for a high of 38, 42 by Tuesday, and up to 47 by Wednesday of next week. So we're going to get more snow. I mean, come on. It's the 22nd day of February, 7:02 in the morning. And let's take a look at what's happening here this morning.
Well, I think before we start, there's a story that needs to be told. Mm-hmm. A couple days ago, I was out walking our little dogs, and Norm was inside watching TV. When we came back, we're coming around the front of the house, and I thought, well, I'll take the dogs, and we'll look in our big front window and say hi to everybody. Well, I got there, and that shade was closed, so but I could see that the side window was open a little bit, the shade. So I walked around to the side, and with the fence being there, I had to just lean over to the side and peek in. And so I peeked in, and here's Norm's face. He looked at me, and then he took to the side, kind of curious, and all of a sudden he went, like that, and he's screaming.
I was watching Ouija the Demon Board, and it's a pretty good scary movie. I mean, paybacks.
It's so funny. It was just done I was only doing it in friendliness, and then when you started screaming, apparently he was screaming when he went to the scared face, and our other dog just went flying to the window like, rah, 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 rah. And then I stepped away just because I was falling down laughing. I was falling down laughing.
Yeah, that's
I know.
great.
Every time
Thanks.
I think about it, it was
Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's cool.
That's the kind of fun we have around here, the Norm Jones Show, and Norm has a great sense of humor about it, as you can tell.
Well, like I said, if it wouldn't have been, it would have startled me. I mean, she just has this mug of hers going right around the corner, right close to the glass. You don't usually expect that, and then to be watching a pretty scary movie, and it was a good scary movie too. Anyway.
Just your first look was like curious, like a dog with its head sideways, curious. What's that?
Well, in the news today.
Okay, who's first? Me?
Yeah, that's what the K is for up there.
I know, but who didn't say K first?
Oh, that's true.
All right. In Lake County, Michigan, high water and flooding is still a problem tonight for some people in Lake County. County officials say the area has received about 4 inches of rain in the last several days. With all the rain and melting snow, emergency management crews are watching the Baldwin River closely. The bridge on 8th Street was closed Wednesday morning. Road crews say the bridge crosses the Baldwin River. It is about a mile from M37. It is highly traveled.
So this is Lake County. I want to remind people we said 8th Street. It's in Baldwin.
Yeah. Probably every town has an 8th Street, just about.
Right. Or Front Street.
Yeah, Main Street. Yep. So, right now, the closure and detour are big concerns for first responders. Emergency managers say the detour Could take them an extra 10 minutes when they respond to calls. The river is expected to crest late Wednesday night. Officials are urging people to take their detour routes until they get the all clear. So I wonder if it did late Wednesday night. If it did, what happened now? 2 inches of running water can swipe you off your feet. 6 inches of water can wipe your vehicle off the road, said Thomas Smith with the Lake County Road Commission. It can cause a sinkhole if the water decides to go under the bridge, which we have no idea if it will or not. So you just don't know and you'd be gambling if you drove over it.
Well, if 2 inches of water will sweep you off your feet, 6 inches of water will wash away your car. At 4 inches, I'm okay. First thing I thought when I saw that story.
But the thing is, you just don't know. Could make a sinkhole, too.
It is. And people go, I could drive across that, which really is stupid because you're in this encapsulated vehicle. I'd rather take my chances, and I wouldn't, walking across a flood place than a car. A car's like you're in this little cocoon of death.
Yeah, but you can sit in it or get up on top of it. If
If it
you're
rolls over,
washed
though,
off your feet with 2 inches of rain and down the river, hey, there you go. What are you going to hold on to?
2 inch stream.
Hope you find a
I don't
log.
know. I wouldn't do it either way. Let's just point that out right now.
Drive your 10 minutes out of the way.
Manistee County man spends 30 days in jail for animal abuse. William Dolson, 62, sentenced yesterday. He'll be on probation, too, for a year, not allowed to have any animals. This was a pretty bad case out there. He was arrested January 18th after the Manistee County Sheriff's Office says they found several animals without food, water, or bedding. He struck a deal with prosecutors. He pleaded no contest, so he will have the felony charges dropped because he decided to do a plea. Dolson and his lawyers say he was having financial problems. He didn't have the financial resources to be able to take care of these animals. So it's just...
sad.
That's not
There's
really
a
bright.
lot of money and resources out there, but
That's
I know
right.
some people just, I don't know. I think they get depressed. I think a lot of it's depression. They love these animals, and they just,
Yeah,
let things go, and it gets so bad, then they don't know how to dig their way out.
Innocent victims, though.
Yeah, that's the sad
Of course, we
part.
coddle our dogs, They get to jump into bed, and all they need now is a bath, really badly.
All right. Manistee County.
You'd be
Michigan.
honest with the next page because it doesn't say K there.
Oh,
See,
I get it.
it's
Emmett County.
rehearsal. Yeah, there you go.
Michigan. Hospice of Michigan is seeing an increase in elderly patients that need help, but they don't have enough volunteers to spend time with them. The hospice company has volunteers all over Michigan, but they say the Petoskey area is where volunteers are needed and the most right now. Dan and Janice Lisenby. Oh my gosh, I know them very, very well. Yeah, they're very nice people. I knew them since they moved to Michigan. Anyway, they live in Petoskey and have been volunteering for Hospice of Michigan for about 5 years. Our parents were both on hospice, so we were at a health fair in Petoskey, and we saw a booth for Hospice of Michigan that went over and got the information and thought it would be a wonderful way to pay back all of the service they've done with our parents, said Janet Lisenby. In her spare time, they visit people in hospice care who in some cases spend most of their days with no one to talk to. We'll try to get to know the person and just talk to them about their life. Maybe if we have something interesting going on in our life at that time that we think they'd like to hear about, we'll talk to them about that, Dan Lisenby said. Dan and Janice are called companionship volunteers who simply spend time with patients.
That's nice. That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Maybe other
Very-
needs besides Emmett County.
Yeah, very nice people that doing that.
Grand Traverse County, a Kingsley man, teen, but still being charged as an adult, like this one. He was arrested after deputies say he assaulted his mother. Now, why in the world would you assault your mother? Well, Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office said they received a call from a 13-year-old boy claiming his brother was beating up their mother at about 5:40 on Tuesday. Now, the suspect, a 17-year-old man, the whole thing started when mom said, "You're not supposed to be using your Xbox during the week." And his mother came home and found it plugged in, so 17-year-old did what any of us would do, the only reasonable solution, and that's beat the hell out of his mother. The sheriff's office says the mother attempted to take the gaming console away. Teen became upset and started punching her. Investigators say the teen had been pushing her to the floor and started punching her in the head. This teen now facing charges of domestic assault. And then yours picks up there. But first, two things. One, this is the beginning of a not good period for this teen. Or he'll just say, I assaulted my mother. I don't know, but I would never come clean and say, yeah, I went to jail. What'd you go to jail for? I went to jail for attempted robbery. I went to jail for car theft. What'd you go in jail for? I wasn't supposed to use my Xbox, and I used my Xbox, and my mom tried to take it away. Okay, I feel so much better now that I got that off my chest. You know, news with views.
That's right.
I didn't put a K next to it, sorry.
3 people from Kalkaska were arrested. The Travis Narcotics team say they were trafficking drugs. Detectives pulled over the suspects Tuesday night. They say a man in the car would not obey their commands and threw something into a snowbank that turned out to be drugs. An officer did suffer minor injuries during the arrest. TNT seized suspected cocaine and heroin.
Jack Lane's going to be on the show. We're going to do a separate segment that's going to be at 8 o'clock this morning, and we'll have a chat with him about what else? Spring training, really. Well, we'll talk about real estate, a new development. We'll talk about from the Ticker, courtesy of the Ticker. President Trump is preparing to meet with the state and local officials Thursday, talk about school safety measures, obviously in response to that massacre in Florida. The president held a listening session at the White House yesterday. Survivors of school shootings who offered up ways to curb gun violence. President Trump made his own controversial proposal. He floated the idea of training arming teachers and school staff. Parents in the room pushed back quickly, saying teachers already have enough responsibility without having to worry about how to use a gun, potentially having to take a life. As a guy who worked for TBA ISD and TCAPS, I'd feel a lot more secure if I had a gun. And I was trained, licensed, background check, yada. But to each his own. Fred Guttenberg, who lost his daughter in Florida, pressed Florida Senator Marco Rubio, a Republican, to support a ban on the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle. Senator Rubio says he'll consider raising the age limit for buying a rifle and to rethink his stance on large-capacity magazines. President Trump appearing to meet with state and local officials to talk about those. I just steered away from Facebook, social media for the longest time after that because I just didn't want to get into it, and everybody else was just foaming at the mouth. Everybody had great ideas, and then other people were shooting down their great ideas. And I wandered into the fray, and I innocently said on social media, I don't want to hear from anybody who says something won't work. I want to hear ideas on what will work. Just an idea, suggestions to interesting for me, because I do the show and think about these things. And I said I will delete the posts that are attacking other people's ideas. Walked away from the computer for 45 minutes. 45 comments of people going back at it. Pro-gun, anti-gun, arm the teachers, don't arm the teachers, ban large capacity magazines, and if somebody else calls it a clip, I'm going to freak out. But it's just like, and I'm not going to get into it right now. And I wanted to so bad. I can change out a magazine that holds 13 rounds, a little less than 2 seconds when I was timed, and there's not a limit on how many magazines you can have. So, but picking apart other people's ideas are not what I was looking for. And I'm sure you've thought about this. A lot of people have thought about this. Mm-hmm. I think that somewhat they're on the right track because, they're looking at behaviors, getting more in tune with people. Gun owners need to be more responsible to lock up their guns to make sure people can't easily steal them, as in Sandy Hook.
Well, I think teenage kids know where the parents' keys are, can find.
Well, that's too bad.
I mean, it just locking. Yeah, I don't know. No, I'm saying locking is good because it's a deterrent.
It's like a 5-step process.
Yeah. No, I agree. Here I am cutting down your idea.
Making
Sorry.
sure, well, no, it's what the discussion's about. But having, make sure your kids are taking his or her meds. People are all blaming, and I don't know how you feel about this as a pharmacist, but they're blaming that all these kids were on psychotropic drugs. They were on Paxil and Wellbutrin and Prozac and God knows what. And I had posted just in a question way. I didn't want to get into it because I can get into a fight with anybody about the time of day. You know that. Mm-hmm. But I got into it and it was like, I don't know what to say anymore. Just totally at a loss. I mean, I could sit here and shoot down other people's ideas, but making sure these kids take their meds is what I said, because maybe that means they inherently had these anger issues before. That's why they were on medicine and they didn't necessarily work effectively. Maybe they didn't take their meds. Some people, you know this, they don't want to take their meds. Mm-hmm. They don't want to take their meds. And as riding along with the police officer for many years, I was in the car when we got calls of a man throwing a fit in his parents' car out in the middle of the intersection. I remember specifically this one. It was at South Airport and Cass, and he was off his medication. That's how the report came in, which is basically an officer caution. It's gonna get physical if you can't negotiate. And just make sure people take it. So is there any indication that these antidepressants are causing people to behave in such a manner? That's not the word I wanted, to behave in such a manner. I wanted to say cause them to freak out. That's not a medical term, though.
I guess you'd have to do some type of study. My feeling is probably not causing it.
I don't, that's...
But you're leaving something out here. The other part is for people to, when they hear kids or see things on social media, kids to tell. And that's happened recently in this area in a couple different schools, about 3 different schools. The most recent one was Tuesday morning at West Junior High. There was a kid who said that he was going to shoot up the school, and they police were called, and they talked to him, and they said they decided that he didn't have any means of doing it. It was
just a joke, but
they need to tell, because
when you have something that's out there in the media, you're being plastered. For instance, let's take the sexual harassment. Remember, that was everybody and their brother was guilty, including a few women. Whatever. It lost its credibility with so many people, unfortunately, and that is unfortunate. But, people were talking about it because it was the topic du jour. When you're going to school and you're talking to your classmates, do you think the shooting isn't going to come up and somebody's going to say something kind of stupid? But that's better than not saying anything and have something tragic happen.
Exactly, and if you in this day and age, don't say that.
You can't. Don't use the word bomb when you're going through TSA checkpoints at the airport.
They tell you that, you can be in trouble just for saying it.
They're 14. They haven't learned these things
Well,
yet.
they need to. And, then there was the young gentleman over in Manistee area. And then they went to his house, and he had a rifle.
I think he probably was tipped off because somebody says, I own an AR-15. And that's, he was probably bragging he had it, so it wasn't a surprise that he had one. I don't know.
He was talking about shooting up the place, too.
Oh, well, see, it's remember in the 70s when streaking was a thing?
This is more serious than streaking.
I know.
That's
not what I'm talking about, the activity. I'm talking about the trend, the fad. Mm-hmm. This is how I'm going to let out my anger because I'm angry at a girl at school. I'm angry at teachers. I'm angry at people bullying me. I'm going to go shoot up a school. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People find that as an option because So basically it's following the leader. And no, it's not the same as streaking. But when we talked about sexual harassment, I'm sure that was talked about amongst students everywhere. Oh, you did that. Well, that's sexual harassment. Ha, 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 this and that and the other thing. Well, I'll sexually harass you. It's in the news, going to be talked about. Even if it's mentioned, the police are going to be called. And you're right. I'm not saying that they should be able to do that. I do think that people who are being busted for chewing a Pop-Tart into the shape of a handgun or a Hello Kitty bubble gun, that's stupid. But
well, the other aspect is kids copy, so they see another shooting on the, and that's happened.
That's my point.
A couple times. But I mean that they actually do it. There have been shooting, and then there's another shooting not too long after that because it puts that idea in their head, and so there is a reason to be vigilant.
Well, it's a multi-point process.
I agree.
Banning an AR-15. I'm not going to get into it. Every solution I've heard has its problems. And let's say you eliminate school shootings because every school is a bunker. Now what about the football games that are played outside in a stadium with all the students? Norm, you shouldn't have said that. You're going to incite people. Now, shut up. Just please. You might change the dynamic, but do you think this is just going to go away? God only knows. I don't know. Billy Graham, by the way, passed away yesterday.
Yeah.
That was kind of a happy moment. I mean, I watched, I don't watch the 700 Club, but I did watch it because they did a nice tribute. It was a cool story. Biggest evangelical ever in the history of the world since the Apostle Paul, is what they had said. Pretty cool. Anyway.
He's seemed to be a very sweet man, loving.
Gentle.
Gentle,
oh, gosh, yeah. And didn't judge. I mean, he was awesome. Anyway, here we have, to finish up the great story today, toy making has gone to the toilet for the latest creations. Mattel, this is Mattel, a company best known for the
Barbie doll.
Clean-cut Barbie doll, is set to release a game called the Flushin' Frenzy that sends brown plastic poop flying into the air. This is going to be gag gifts. They should have come out with this in October. Gift-giving season. Excuse me. Rival Hasbro, who wanted a piece of this action, whose water-squirting game, Toilet Trouble, was a hit last year, stuck with the potty humor this year and released Don't Step in It, a game where players are blindfolded and have to avoid stepping in poop that's molded out of a clay-like substance. Toy analysts and experts say the potty-related toys are hitting stores now because of the popularity of the poop emoji. You've seen that. Which has also made it more acceptable for parents to buy poop toys for the kids. At the New York Toy Fair this weekend, toy makers showed off poo-shaped action figures, squishy toys, and other creatures from the toilet. Yes, poop is a theme, said Julie Lennett, the toy analyst at market research company, the NPD Group. Kids think it's funny. Sticky the Poo is another one. A squishy likeness with eyes clings to walls and ceilings when thrown. Remember when it was, what was it with Nickelodeon? The goop, the goo, the slime. It was slime.
Oh,
People were being slimed, yeah. So we've gone wonderfully beyond that. Company behind it, Hog Wild, also sells a rainbow version called Sticky Unicorn Poo. It's Sticky the Plunger is sold separately. Poo for collectors, too. If you want to collect poo toys, Flush Force. Now, see, they just let the cat out of the bag. Now I'm not going to collect them. Too many people are going to hoard them. Darn. Flush Force by toy maker Spin Master sells 150 nickel-sized mutant critters the kids can collect. Poopies, meanwhile, makes tiny squishy collectibles with character names such as Poogie, Skidmark, and Dumpling. That was a crappy story.
Yeah.
Did we expect less from me on that one?
I know. Yeah, it just reminds me, though. You remember there was like a realistic-looking poo that you could buy, looked like dog poo. Well, we had several in our family, and leave them around. My mom even had one, and she'd leave it out,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know, and
yeah.
pretend like the dog. Whose dog did that? You know?
Oh, the plastic poo?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I remember that. No, what we had is, I don't know what it was called. It was a Nickelodeon thing, but it was Flub or something like that. And it was slimy, and when you put it back in its container and you pushed it, it would make a fart
Yeah,
noise.
Flubber. It was supposed
Flubber.
to,
Was that-
it was from the movie. Yeah.
Was it?
The Disney movie kinda went along with that, yeah.
Stephanie, at age 3 or whatever, my daughter, she's sitting on the toilet, and I'm videotaping with one hand, and with the other one, I'm making this fart noises. She was giggling. She thought that was so funny. But she's 3 for crying out loud. Oh, my goodness. And then actually, I know I still have the video. She says, Dad, it's going to fall on the ground. She wasn't so concerned about that. She was concerned that part of the flubber was going to fall on the ground. 34 for a high today, and some AM rain tomorrow. Could be dicey with a high of 38. 40, partly sunny. Saturday, Sunday, 40. Monday, 38. Tuesday, 42. 47 by Wednesday of next week. And tonight, if you're watching this live, 7:27. Good morning, Thursday, 22nd day of February. The Camera Club having a presentation tonight.
6:30. Yep, and it's going to be Phil Stagg. That's who we started this show with, his photo. And if you go to the Norm Jones Show website or Facebook page, we have the video of his interview the other day.
Right, but he'll be at 6:30 Alden Library tonight. There's a small fee, less than the price of a movie ticket. I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, and it'll be great.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's going to go through a lot of his photos and talk about how to find waterfalls, just like in his book, and how to photograph them. It'll be interesting.
As we close out, why don't you go ahead and show us a picture of Phil's work for a second. And I don't think reservations are necessary. I don't think we're going to be that swamped.
The Alden Library. Yeah.
6:30 tonight. So take a look at some of these pictures and have a great day. Jack Lane in our next segment. We'll be live with him in a half hour.